when I was just a child, I watched my mother as she smiled, and I could see that she was proud of me. Not for only what I'd done, or all the things I would become, not the things I would grow up to be. She loved me just for who I was, not when or if, was just because I was her kid, her love was guaranteed. Oh, and on my mom I could depend. She was my greatest fan, my friend, and it's still true from then till now and until the end. Oh, I wanna sing a song for you, for all the things you've done to get me through. And though you have a day, I want the world to. She loved me just for who I was, not when or if, was just because I was her kid, her love was guaranteed. Oh, and on my mom I could depend. She was my greatest fan, my friend, and it's still true from then till now and until the end. Oh, I wanna sing a song for you, for all the things you've done to get me through. And though you have a day, I want the world to hear and see that every day is Mother's Day to me. Through childhood days to teenage years, you were right there to wipe my tears. Cuts and scrapes were covered up in love. And if I was under attack, you were right there, you had my back. I swear you were sent straight from up above. You were right there to cheer me on, and took the time to teach me right from wrong, and brush away all of my little fears. Oh, and even when we disagree, you still work hard to help me see that everything is not as it appears. Oh, I wanna sing a song for you, for all the things you've done to get me through. And though you have a day, I want the world to hear and see that every day is Mother's Day to me. Yeah, I wanna sing a song for you, for all the things you've done to get me through. And though you have a day, I want the world to hear and see that every day is Mother's Day to me. Yeah, every day is Mother's Day to me.
Hello and welcome to I'm the Best Mom. I trust you all are keeping well and staying safe. I'm the Best Mom. We are committed to make your motherhood a joyful experience. Every time we bring a topic which is more of your interest when it comes to raising a child and facing the challenges. Today, we are on a very, very precious day in our life, Mother's Day. I wish you all a happy Mother's Day. And with this, today we are on the 45th episode of Cover Paste Cover Story with our guest of the day, Dr. Jigyasa Ipsita Patnaik, in conversation with Dr. Anuj Rastogi, sir. Dr. Jigyasa is a gold medalist with MD Psychiatry, with the child psychiatrist from St. John's, Bangalore, and ex-senior resident with AIMS Bhubaneswar, Assistant Professor Department of Psychiatry, Kalinga Institute of Medical Science. A lot of accolades to her. Executive Council member, Indian Psychiatric Society, convener, Social Media Speciality Section, Indian Psychiatric Society, executive body member of IPS Odisha branch, chairman, Child Psychiatry Subcommittee, Odisha State branch. Today, we are going to have a interaction on online to offline school, rather the school readiness, with Dr. Anuj Rastogi, when he will be bringing his set of experience dealing with children every day for all of our queries, which has been handled, raised, and lot of contribution keeps on coming from Dr. Anuj. He's a senior neonatal pediatrician and the co-founder of I'm the Best Mom, social influencer, author, special focus on child growth and behavioral modification, where he reinforced precisely on the awareness of hygiene to raising the kids, getting the best of solution to the mothers at their own environment. It's a pleasure and honor to have you, Dr. Jigyasa. Dr. Anuj Rastogi, please.
Thank you, Deepman, and good morning to everyone, and happy Mother's Day. In fact, mother is the best teacher in all of us, all of our life. She is instrumental, and she's the best teacher in multi-dimensional way. She is a good teacher for our emotional aspect, social aspect, and our independence, our cognition, our physical well-being. So she's the only one, and she's the best teacher to any child. Without further ado, I will invite Dr. Jigyasa, and I will welcome you, Dr. Jigyasa.
Hello, sir. It's my pleasure to be here. A very good morning.
Thank you. Welcome. Dr. Jigyasa, after a gap of 2 years, kids have started attending offline classes in the school. Which is better, online or offline, and why?
So that's a very difficult question to answer. But every form of education platform has its own merits and demerits. Like, for example, there are a group of students who were very easy and were able to learn very nicely through online means, particularly for children who had a lot of anxiety disorders, for whom school was not a very good platform, and maybe they were experiencing bullying and those kind of difficulties. And for those children, online classrooms were a boon. But however, in those category of children also, it was difficult because they were not able to socialize, they were not able to make friendships, which is also a very important domain of development of children and their long-term outcomes. So definitely offline school is better than online school in terms of holistic development and overall development. But yes, in certain situations where children are finding it difficult in transitioning from online to offline, at this point of time, it's very interesting, this question, which is better. Maybe what I would suggest is a gradual transition, and some flexibility is something that we can look forward to.
So what do you mean by gradual transition and some flexibility?
Yes, sir. Sir, in the India today, we don't have any particular guidelines on how to switch from online school to offline school. But in the West, like the CDC, it has released a significant amount of literature on what are the various practices that can be followed by schools in particular and by teachers to make the children feel more comfortable during this transition phase. What I meant by smooth transition is, like, for example, initially they can provide some flexibility to students, like those who want to attend offline school can go away straight and directly attend it offline. But for children who are finding it reluctant, and if they wish to have it in the online mode, what we can do is we can maybe ensure that weekly, at least one day, they can come offline and they can be there and attend classes. Or maybe some particular time of the day they attend classes and the others they can be allowed to attend online. And gradually we can increase the duration of offline classes and allow some hybrid means in between, particularly for those areas in which the children are finding it really difficult to deal with. Maybe in a particular subject, for example, like maybe online is more better where there's more visual interaction that is helpful for the child. So in this way is what I meant by gradual transition and maybe some flexibility.
Okay, but on the whole, if there are more children, those who are anxious, and if they need to go to school, they will go to school because there is no such kind of facilities here.
Yes, sir.
They do online and offline together. If they are going to school, they have to go to school, and quite a few of them, they are having problems. They have vomiting, anxiety, pain in abdomen. And most of the time, as a pediatrician, when I reassure parents, he has nothing, he's not feeling adjusted in the school, and this is something new. He has to leave the comfort zone of the house and going to the school, and the old friends are no more there. Now you are having new friends, new circle. So maybe that is causing anxiety, and it is going to take some time. So what should be the approach of the parents? If a child is having a lot of vomiting, pain in abdomen while he's going to school, or he's having pain in abdomen in the morning hours only, what should be the approach? Should they go for gradual transition, or should they pursue and ask them to go and give them a tablet or something so that they can take, or provide it to the teacher, some placebo, so that they can stay in the school? What is your thought?
Yes, sir. Sir, the kind of manifestations that you're describing, like having vomiting and stomach ache right in the morning, for children who have anxiety to attend schools, or maybe might be having some early features of school refusal. Sir, what we do in our clinical practice is we don't straight away say that either go to school or don't go to school. What we do is we usually take a midway approach, where we try to understand the child and help in providing the help to the child in particular domains that the child needs. For example, a child may want to go to school and play with friends, but a particular classroom or a particular situation is where the child feels uncomfortable. So the important part here is not just maybe advising the parents that attend school no matter what, because sometimes it has been counterproductive, and the symptoms actually start getting worse and worse. So in these situations, what we try to do is we re-emphasize the need for continuing school. At the same time, try to identify what are the barriers or what are the particular situations in which the child is facing difficulties. The third thing is providing support or ensuring that those kind of difficulties, if at all it is a punitive teacher, maybe, for example, or if it is bullying that is happening in the class, or maybe it is just the anxiety of the child and nothing else is contributory. So in those situations, we need to identify the underlying cause. If at all it is anxiety in school children, which is very common, we can treat the anxiety through various pharmacological and non-pharmacological mechanisms, like, for example, providing CBT, cognitive behavior therapy. There are a few regimens for that, like the Cool Kids method, where we provide some very basic techniques to children. Like, suppose you start experiencing anxiety. So what you can do is, if there is a problem, how to solve the problem and get used to it. So these are the things how we empower the children and gradually help the child rebuild and develop the resilience within, so that the child can go on and start attending classes. So initially what we do is we allow some break, maybe at least a day or two, maybe allow some flexibility in those difficult areas where the child is having difficulty, reinforce the child's positive behavior, that despite having a vomiting, you did go to class, so we are really proud of you. So after the child comes, we can actually provide some positive reinforcement for the positive behavior or the desirable behavior. And then what we do is, if at all the child is having vomiting, what we do is we ask the parents to not pay attention to the symptom, but rather pay attention to the underlying cause or the etiology of it, try to solve it, and that goes a long way. So.
Right. But it is very difficult as a pediatrician also, because they force us to go for test. Now, earlier on it was ultrasound, now it is CT scan. So it is very, very difficult to convince them. They always say our child is not like that. And as a pediatrician, I recognize their heartbeat a lot, and I know how they are feeling. So, but it is very, very difficult to convince the parents. So how will you tell the parents if this child comes to you directly, not referred by us, or it comes to you directly? How will you convince to the parents he doesn't require further investigation, or will it be diagnosis of exclusion? You go for the investigation, then go for the treatment.
No, sir. Like, definitely the role as a pediatrician is extremely difficult, considering the amount of load that you deal with and the actual manifestation of a somatic symptom. Like, the child is actually vomiting. So there is a definite problem which the child is having, and it's very difficult to say there's nothing wrong. It is just a psychological symptom. So I understand that difficulty. At the same time, what we do is, like, if the child presents to us for the first time without any investigations, definitely we would refer it to a pediatrician to get the baseline evaluation done, so that we are not ignoring something which is grossly wrong with the child. So after the basic level of opinion is sought from a pediatrician, so what we do is, at the next step, how we address the difficulty. If we do not tell them directly there is a problem or there is no problem, we try to take the parents' version of it, like, what do you think would be the problem? Then they will say this, but we did see a pediatrician, right? What did the pediatrician say? And they'll say the advice for some tests and all. Then we ask the parent for their reflection about what they understand about those tests. Sometimes they say that the tests were normal, but I don't think the doctor maybe explained it to me enough. I think there could be something else. And once the ultrasound is normal, right, like you rightly said, sir, they ask for a CT scan, and then they ask for an MRI. And these days they come with a demand for whole body scan. So maybe what we do here in these situations is we sit with them and try to explain the limitations of these investigations, and irrespective of whether the investigation comes out to be positive or negative, right now we don't have an indication for that investigation. And once we spend that time, which sometimes varies from 5 minutes to maybe 2 or 3 sessions of 1 hour each, so that is when they get convinced. At the same time, I completely agree with you, sir. If you don't write the investigation, they go to the next doctor and they will write them the same investigation. So maybe they do this doctor shopping thing. I completely agree with you. But this is how we have to put an end to all of it, and all of us together can do it.
Yeah, otherwise it is an investigation momentum. You
Yes,
get
sir.
one investigation, then another. And these days, because of the ultramodern ultrasound machine, they are reporting mesenteric lymph nodes, and that creates a lot of ruckus in the parents' mind. They say, what is this? What is this lymph node? Why it is so there?
Yes,
And they have certain bad experience also. Like somebody has some malignancy or cancer. So they have this thing in back of their mind.
right, sir.
So that's fine. And the next situation, if a child is going to the school, and suddenly she started complaining of severe headache, and she's not able to go to school, and she's not able to go to join the school. Recently, what I did, I asked mother to get me connected to the teacher. Then I talked to the teacher. She told me she has some maladjustment with another child on some seat issue, and she is feeling bullied. So what she did, she has separated them and asked them to sit at different places. Was that the correct approach by the teacher, or should she do? Should she has done something else?
Right, sir. So here, as I can see that the teacher's version was the basis of the entire decision that was made. So sometimes what we as adults or as teachers or as caregivers see may be a problem to the child. Maybe that is just a play for the child. It's possible at a lot of times. So at this point of time, in addition to what the teacher thought could be a problem, getting the child opinion, like this is what we are thinking and this is what I want to do. Are you okay with it? Just getting an assent or maybe some discussion with the child sometimes goes a long run in actually helping the child in an overall situation. This is what I feel. I won't say the teacher did anything wrong, but an additional step would be taking the child into confidence and discussing the same with the child, no matter how old the child is.
What I generally do, what I advise to the parents and the teacher, it is better to from that child who is feeling victimized, she should give some toffee or some pencil or some box to the another child so that they should feel alike rather than feeling enemy. And that works better. Otherwise, you keep seeing that child in the class. तो कभी लगेगा ये मुझे घूर रहा था. It is like that, and they feel bullied.
Yes, sir.
So I feel this is not the solution to keep them separate. Rather than it is better to make them friends. You just not by shaking the hands, by doing these little things.
That's a very interesting piece of experience to share, sir. So I think that will definitely go a long way in actually building up the positive relationships as well. Like suppose you have a conflict in a relationship and how to manage it. So I'm learning from you, sir. This is very nice.
Okay. So I keep doing this. I keep doing this thing, and sometimes children, they are not comfortable with certain teacher. Maybe the subject was a little difficult, like maths or English or social sciences, and they are not comfortable with the teacher. I always ask the parent, ask your son or daughter to give some gift to the teacher so that maybe teacher may not feel flattered, but he will feel comfortable. And that is what we need.
Yes, sir.
Because it is very difficult to make everyone happy, and there are certain things as a teacher one has to take into the consideration. Sometimes teachers scolded some other child that this child is going to get feel victimized. Now next time it is my turn, and they feel anxious about it. So it is very, very common in pediatric practice, and we have to go really into the root cause of the problem. And I always try to make them intermingle rather than keeping them away, because this is not the solution of running from the problem. And this is my I'm not a psychiatrist, child psychiatrist, but I personally feel this is more effective as a strategy.
If that works, we are more than happy. But if that does not work, maybe we can take the next step.
Yeah. So in the another case scenario, child of 3 years of age started going to offline school and never attended online school, have school anxiety and hitting the classmate due to irritation. How should we go about it?
This is a very common problem that we are facing these days. And because they're directly asked to go and join in a higher standard. So there are certain things like school readiness programs, which have been implemented successfully in some schools. So what they do is usually before sending a child to an offline school, we try to assess certain skills and try to empower the child with certain school readiness abilities. Like, for example, the basic initial 2 to 3 days or 2 to 3 weeks, what we can do is we can actually spend the child. Initial 2 to 3 days. Is there an echo?
No.
Okay. So that is what we usually try to do is we start working on the school readiness ability of the child. Like there are a few abilities that are required for a child to pay attention in the class or to get along with friends. Like the first thing is having some expressive language ability, like expressing the basic needs or the difficulties, like I'm not okay or I'm okay. Are you okay? Yes or no. Like the small communication techniques which can help the child to at least reflect that he's okay or not. That is the first thing. It is expressive ability. The second is receptive ability. Is what we try to talk like the child has listening skills. The child pays attention when he's directly talked to. And then when in a class, that the sitting tolerance ability. The child has to sit for a particular time and there are these bells that will ring, after which the child can be a bit ease. So maybe these are the different areas where we try to work on. That is called the pre-learning skills. That is before even going for academics, these are certain abilities which are required even to start learning or to start even reading a book or following any instruction that are needed. So maybe this is a very brief thing which can be started at home as well. Like in the evenings, the parents can spend 1 hour a day and start the tutoring, one-on-one tutoring abilities. That helps, and the child can actually start going to school. And maybe some reinforcement can also be provided. And we are seeing a lot of parents who come saying that this is what I tried and that worked initially, but now it is not working. So what can we do? So like what they tried is what they were done in their old times is like given a toffee, like the very small tricks you said, bringing a favorite toy or a toffee or watching a favorite cartoon, like after they get back. Time limited, definitely, but that might help. So what is your opinion? How do you deal with it?
Yeah. I'm just going to share it with you. So I use a phenomena of familiarity rather than anything else. I ask to the parents, just hold on. You take your child 2 to 3 times to the school, maybe till the gate. You just show the vicinity of the school. And if he keep going for 2, 3, 4 days, then he will start accepting that school. And they should tell to the child whether we will leave you there and we will take you there from there also. We will come and take you from there. So, and it works beautifully. They go and touch the gate, or they buy something and give it. If they find someone, some friends, Ward is also studying in the same class. So I asked them to offer some gift from his side to him so that he should feel comfortable. Means there is something in their back of the mind that will be reassuring to them. If something bad will happen or something strange will be happen there, he will save me. So this is without saying, it helps to the children, and I do this.
Right, sir. So this technically in our terms, what we say is this is how we deal with separation anxiety, which is a very common reason if a dog is delayed entry into school. So this works really good for that kind of thing. So your practical experience actually matches with the diagnostic terminologies and the treatment that we have. So
so I keep doing. So I'm practicing for last more than 20 years, and this is pediatrics as a sub-specialty has developed lately, and before that we are doing everything. So we are nurtured and learn in the same way.
Right, sir.
Another case scenario is the child of 6 years of age going to school in the first standard and attending offline school after 2 years of gap. She did her junior and senior KG online. She's facing the mismatch between the online syllabus and the offline school. And now she feels offline is little outdated for her.
I completely agree. Actually, I saw 2 kids who had similar kind of problems, and what they say was actually rational and logical as well. They actually proved it to me how the online classes are better and why this offline is boring. The term that they use is boring. And the only thing I think their version was, the only thing why I should go to school is because I have friends to play. Otherwise, learning online is so more exciting and that's so in trend. So yes, and at this point of time, maybe we as the decision makers or the experts in the field need to learn from them regarding the positive part of online learning as well. And maybe we can integrate that online positive part of the online thing in the classes as well, like through videos, or maybe having some videos played and then having discussions among teams and peers is something that we can look forward to. And maybe if at all the child wants to go to school to play, so what we can say is yes, so we will play another game. If you complete the entire day in school, so we'll have a star chart game at home and you can win stars, and then that will give you something. So this is something that we try is called the star chart mechanism, and it works as a form of token economic system. And then after the child earns some 10 stars or something, we give the child something that the child really wants, like maybe a dairy milk or maybe a small Kinder Joy. So things like that. That is what the child usually exchanges it for 10 stars or maybe. So this is something that I think will help in the long run. But right now, maybe we also do not know what works better. Does the offline teaching work better or the online, or a hybrid? Like integrating audio visual aids is something which has proven to be effective. So can we actually try and integrate that in some way or the other? Is a question that maybe decision makers and educational policy makers can think. It's my opinion, sir. So what do you have to say about it?
No, it's perfect. When I have this kind of condition, so I always ask to the parents, this shall to pass, and don't worry, let him go, and tell him this is the way, this is the process. This is the process I also passed through. Because if you go online and you can't make friends, and friends are also very important to learn so many skills and so many things and so many behaviors. When you will enter into the adult life, you will know how to deal with people, how will make friends, and how will make a team. So this is all important. So that is how I explain them, and they adjusted with time.
Right, sir. Time is the best healer. Yes.
Yeah. And how do you deal with this kind of which I am feeling lately? The earlier on a child who is having lame excuses or avoiding school or having anxiety going to school, and most of them now they have done really very well in the school in the previous class. They are on the first position or second position, and now they are feeling miserable. They are having some anxiety in going to school. Recently, there was one child who is so brilliant, and he was just 7 years old, and he can recite the whole shift taণ্ডava in one go. Without stopping his breath, he can sing the whole shift taণ্ডava. But he was not ready to go to school because of, I will be failed, and my father will feel very bad about it. He will be insulted. And why should I go to school? I'm going to tuition. Why should I go there? And this is really a very difficult situation. And I see the seed of this problem lies in the early childhood, because sometimes we pamper our children so much. If he hit a ball, they say like he plays like Sachin Tendulkar. He sings a song, he like Kishore Kumar. So we initially these praises or these appreciation, they works nicely, but later on child put himself on the higher pedestal, and then they have a performance anxiety. What is your call on this, and how should we appreciate our children in the early childhood, and how should we take it forward?
As you rightly pointed out, sir, maybe the underpinnings of such anxiety may be there in the upbringing as well. At the same time, I also feel that, like you pointed out, there's no proper or absolute kind of statements for parenting. Like for some children, the same things may work wonders, and the same parent with two different children and doing the same thing may not work for the other. So in those situations, I feel what works for the child has to be individually tailored, and it has to be tailored with age as well. Like you said, initially it works well, but maybe later when it does not work, or maybe it is counterproductive, and that is when we start recognizing the signs of performance anxiety and related things. Maybe the parents can actually serve as a support system rather than just being in the back front and telling that you're doing well and doing well. Maybe they can actually take some practical steps to help the child practice, rehearse, have a role play, so that the child can actually rehearse the things beforehand and anticipate that if at all there is a bad response or a critical comment, how would the child react to such situations? So this is maybe as the time progresses and as the child starts facing new difficulties, the parenting skills in those scenarios has also to evolve into something that is need-based at that point of time. And maybe you as a professional or senior pediatricians who actually deal with such parents quite often can maybe with your experience, you can share that what you're doing may not be completely wrong, that worked at that point of time, but maybe right now what you can do is something different. Because what we have seen, sir, a lot of parents, they come to us after they have received feedback from, because we diagnose the reason, we know that this is responsible for this, but at that point of time, breaking that news to parents makes them extremely guilt ridden, and they're like completely depressed about it, because in today's world of one or two child norm, they become so depressed that they actually start thinking about existential issues and stuff. So sometimes maybe validating the parents, saying that what you did at that point of time was the best interest of your child, and that is what you did. Right now you don't know what to do, and that is why you have come for help, and maybe this is something that you can do. So this is what I feel would be a more balanced approach. Sir, what do you think about
What I personally feel, it should be inculcated in the system. There should be not anyone 1, 2, 3. There should be always a grades, grade 1, grade B, grade C, rather than saying them you are number 1 student or you are number 1. Because as soon as you start labeling them number 1, in the next competition or next step, they feel anxiety. There's a lot of trouble with most of the children. They feel they are scared whether they could perform that well or not. And this lately I've seen this is increasing in children. They have a lot of problem during exam days or otherwise also. Recently, what a girl has done, she was extremely doing in ICSE board, and her marks was 94, 95% in ICSE board, and these are very fantastic marks for anybody to have this. Then in the 11th, during the COVID period, she was joined into some good college or school in Kota, and that was online class. And she was always telling to her father she's doing quite well, she has gained so much of numbers. And suddenly her behavior started deteriorating. And then family came to me. I said, there is nothing, there is some functional overlay, there's some psychological thing going on with the child. So they did not trust me and they went to somebody else. And then they did, that doctor did all the tests and all the tests were normal. Then her father realized what I said to him. He came again to me. I said, find around her, there is something wrong. Then he called into the school in Kota, and he was surprised to know his daughter has not attended a single class since October. And she has made a certificate, online certificate of number 1 position in the 11th class. So, and you see such a good child, because she has and she was not into anything else. But because of her performance anxiety, how will her father feel about it or mother will feel about it? And there's a lot of comparison also among the siblings. So this time you have done this, your child, another child has done this. So this kind of baggage is disturbing a lot of mental health problem in the children. So what is your call on this?
I completely agree with you, sir. So sometimes we say that when a child presents with a problem, it's important to also treat the parents. So this is a very common thing which goes in child psychiatry, sir, because parental anxiety and parental expectations that the child is dealing with almost 24/7. That's the constant thing that the child deals with. Predisposes to a lot of such situations that you're talking about, because the child is not worried about his performance, but more about what the parents will feel about it, what feedback they will give, how will they compare to other children. So I completely agree with you, sir, in terms of like the parental anxiety and the expectations that the society puts on these young children definitely is one of the important reasons for such psychological issues.
And in every city, I trust there are 2, 3 very prestigious schools, and everybody is fighting to get admitted there. And what I personally feel, they are not that good, how they are feeling, because they are not having even the playing grounds also, and there is no scope for the games or the sports. And children, parents feel good when they tell our child is studying in this school and that school, because another friend's child is not studying into that school. So it is a matter of pride to parents only, but it puts lots and lots of pressure on the child. And I personally feel it should be a balanced approach there. So it should be study curriculum as well and the sports also. So I keep telling them, don't run after that school, and you should just find out the better school where a lot of scope for sports and other things, extracurricular activities. That is how it's childhood. You should not expect them to be working all the day and night and doing homeworks and tuitions. So I just keep telling them. I don't know.
Completely agree with you. I completely agree with you. And once we say this, the parents also don't digest it at all. They're like, oh my God, what are they saying? So it's really important, and I really appreciate you for saying that, because the parents have started thinking that education equal to marks. And that's a very wrong way of seeing it. And if a child is scoring good, that means the child is good. Otherwise, the child is bad. So that is how they have started even labeling children based on their performance. So it's a very sad scenario, but I hope things will change soon, sir.
So there are 2-3 more quick questions to you.
Yes,
A
sir.
boy of 2.5 years of age and he is non-verbal as yet, not having very good vocabulary just now, and his speech is not completely developed. Should he go to the normal school or any assessment are suggested?
The 2.5 years without speech, there's something definitely wrong. So we need to get an assessment, at least the initial screening, that the child is not having any other developmental issues. If the basic screening criteria are not met, and maybe we think it is mainly because of understimulation and those kind of things, so maybe we can actually start with stimulating the child and sending them to play school and then a normal school. But an assessment and seeing a specialist is definitely recommended in such situations.
So what is the commonest reason of speech delay in young children? What is in your practice, what you encounter?
Sir, if it is isolated speech delay, then we try to look into other non-verbal communication measures if they are present or not. If other non-verbal communication cues are present, it is only expressive speech delay. It is like the expressive speech delay is something which is seen. But these days, sir, after this COVID thing has happened, I'm really sorry to say, like, a lot of autistic features are developing in children because they're getting glued to the screens. And they're picking up all the language and everything from, like, they started speaking Spanish and Portuguese instead of the local languages. So autistic features are getting very common. And I think most of it is modifiable. If at all we remove the screens and provide some increased parent-child interaction and some real-world interaction with peers, all of these can be sorted out. So autism features are there, but I would not say it is a non-modifiable or the core genetic autism. It may be understimulation that is causing, is what I feel. So what's your take on this, sir?
No, I am completely agreed with that. And I see this is more common with the children rather than seeing the classical autistic patient.
Right.
Because they, as you told, this is only in the one sector child is lacking behind, and otherwise his eye-to-eye contact and his receptive language is good and his playing abilities are good, but he's not communicating. So I feel this is more common because of poor interaction, because the speech come by speaking only. Right. So if parents are conversating with the children, that is how they learn different things. You are very correctly said they are developing some other language also by watching these cartoons and all. So the next case scenario is a girl of 10 years is highly obsessed with mobile phone and refused to join offline school. So how will you convince to this child?
That's a very difficult scenario. And I had 2 children recently. One of them actually agreed to the initial behavioral mechanisms that we tried. Like, maybe you can attend one class online and then one class offline. That is how we started negotiating. Like, the morning half you go to school and then the others you can attend online. So we tried maybe getting the child into a conversation and getting into some flexibility so that the child starts agreeing to offline school. But at the same time, logically and rationally, actually discussing with them is getting tough. And I find it a challenge even today. Like saying them don't attend online classes at all and go only for offline is getting difficult. But if yes, we can make the offline methods more interesting, more engaging, and maybe provide some positive reinforcement. Like I said, what works for that child is something we have to figure it out. If there is something that we can look forward to, I think it will go along that. Sir. What do you think, sir?
What I asked to the parents to avoid the multimedia mobile, all that because they can use when child is not around, and they should buy a mobile where they can put their SIM card where you can't see videos and all. So that, because the first motivation or first inspiration comes from the parents only, because these days mothers are most of the time they are on to the mobile or they are clicking the pictures in the parties. So that fascinates to the child also, and it become an integral part of their life. So first of all, I ask parents to cut down on their uses of multimedia mobile, at least in front of their children. They can buy a simple mobile just for talking, That is one thing. And then I try to convince the child how to go about it. What I ask them to use Pomodoro technique, and they should put a alarm of 15 minutes or 10 minutes to start with, and they can be on the mobile for 10 minutes. And when alarm goes on, then they should cut it down after 2 hours or 1 hour. They can again be involved on the mobile. For a child of 15 years of age, it is not very easy to be dismissive and be very tricky, because they are very rebellious and they are very conscious about their well-being, and they are everything. They are very conscious, and most of the time they are rebellious to their parents. So what I do, I convince them, beta, you are very nice. I appreciate her. You are very pretty child. You are doing good, and you are turning out into earlier on you are this and that. Now you are looking very good. I appreciate them and connect with them. And then I start telling, now you should do this. And within 5-6 days, I feel this kind of addiction, they goes away in 5 to 7 days. I personally feel so. My last question to you, because a boy of 15 years has developed habit of washing hands in every 5 to 10 minutes for no reason. As pandemic was focusing of hand washing for better hygiene, he is now facing a problem in the offline school and not able to concentrate because of his repeated problem.
Right, sir. So here first, as you said, we just advise, you see, this is not needed anymore. What's the underlying reason why you're doing it? If the child says that, I don't know why I'm doing it, but it's a compulsive behavior that I have to do. In case I don't do it, I feel a lot anxious and distressed. So maybe the child is having OCD, or obsessive compulsive disorder, and the child is developing symptoms like that, which maybe was triggered by the pandemic. But now if it is not stopping, we need to actually intervene. If it is like, I would like to see the severity of it, if it is mild, moderate, severe. The frequency that you mentioned, sir, about this particular child in question, every 5 to 10 minutes, I would say it is like severe OCD. And I would definitely recommend both the medicines and therapy, that is the exposure and response prevention therapy. And I think both of this combined can actually help the child get better and go back to normal school. So what is your take on this?
I think that's correct. That's correct. Because as you have rightly said, mild, moderate, and severe, and we will have to watch it at home also, how it is behaving at home, because the behavior in 2-3 settings is very important. Maybe it may be something else also that is playing, and he's blaming on the hand washing also. So we have to see his behavior in different settings.
I completely agree, sir. But one perk here is sometimes children who do not have very severe OCD, what they're able to do is they're able to restrict their behavior in certain scenarios. Like I have seen a lot of children who say that we come to hospital, after I go back, I'll take a bath and everything will be okay. So in scenarios like this, maybe or may not be, we will be able to elicit if it is OCD or it is just increased control over their symptoms. But yes, sir, most of the situations, maybe generalizability is a rule.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jigyasa. आज आपके साथ बहुत ही interesting session रहा. And I will request you to give us some more time for another session, because it was very, very interesting. Everybody is talking of the physical health, nobody is talking of the mental health, which is much more important than the physical health. Thank you very much.
I completely agree with you, sir. Thank you for the opportunity, and I look forward to more such interactive sessions.
Thank you, Dr. Jigyasa.
Thank you, Dr. Jigyasa, and thank you, Dr. Anuj, sir. A lot of questions, and when it comes from the expert with the real-time experience, that adds a lot of value to the parents. And rightly said, Dr. Anuj, we will be looking forward to have Dr. Jigyasa sometime soon with subject which is addressing maybe the psychological aspect, addressing, because we have to live with technology. We cannot have any escape. And nobody can even say we will not come back again to the online session, online classroom. So a lot of things to discuss and have the right kind of advice from the experts. So thank you so much, parents. And if you have any specific question, please post it on info at imthebestmom.com. We will try to get all this question in the next session and make it more interactive. Thank you so much, all of you, for spending your Sunday morning, and wishing you all once again a very happy Mother's Day. Yes, Dr. Anuj.
You are not failing, and it is very correctly written. And I always try not to give any tag to any child of OCD or autism. I try to avoid that tag. I try to tell parents he has some sensory issues. He will require some desensitization. I hope you will agree or disagree to me. I don't know, but I do this. Dr. Gyasa.
So whenever possible, definitely we can. But it's like, so we say, na, jo khaya pachhtaya, jo nahi khaya, wo bhi pachhtaya. So it's like that. So if we actually say no tech at all, it also deprives of a lot of things. So I would say a balanced approach is the new way forward. However, taking into account your experience and expertise, I would not say that that you're not wrong. You are, or I would say that you're right, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Very good.